Pakistan has chosen a new army chief, General Asim Munir, and the old army chief is set to retire. But before he retires, it seems that he has created quite a controversy. General Qamar Bajwa has admitted that Pakistan's military has been meddling in politics for the last 70 years. This is something that we all know about. Nobody's under the illusion that Pakistan democracy is an extremely independent democracy and that the government of Pakistan has absolutely no meddling from the Pakistani army. It is a well-known fact that the Pakistani army meddles with the government business. In fact, it's said that it is even instrumental in ensuring who comes to power and who goes out of power. Now, this uncomfortable truth, which everybody knows, but Pakistan refuses to accept, is pretty much confirmed now by General Qamar Bajwa's speech. This speech he gave on Wednesday, and there were other officers who were sitting over there and even their families were there when he said this, that Pakistani military has meddled in politics. But what was the reason? Why did he say that? Well, we have to understand that he was talking about the fact that Indian Army, which according to him has committed many human rights violations, is still at the end of receiving a lot of love from the Indian people. And this is something that he was highlighting and saying that despite the fact that the Pakistani army is day and night working towards the betterment of their people, it constantly faces distrust, it faces a lot of criticism from the politicians as well as the common people. And this is what he was saying, that this clearly shows that people, the general public at large, does not have too much trust on the army. And for that, he then went on to say that army is to be held responsible because in the last 70 years, army has meddled in politics. He clearly states that. And then he goes on to say that in February, army had a meeting and they decided that they're not going to interfere with political matters anymore and they're going to stay away from it all, and goes on to tell the politicians and the civil society as well that you also need to ensure that there is a healthy democracy. Now, this was an admission, sort of an admission from the outgoing Pakistani army chief. But there was another thing that he said, and that was more on the lines of shifting blame. He said that what actually led to the fall of Dhaka and the loss of the 1971 war was the political failure. He said this is not a military failure, in fact it is political failure. Now what exactly he means by that is a little ambiguous because he just admitted that politics and army are partners in bed. So after that, to say something that the loss, which was clearly a military loss that happened during the 1971 war, was actually not a military failure but a political failure. He further added that it was a false narrative that has been created over the years, and in fact the army, which was fighting with only 34,000 soldiers, according to him, was facing a monumental task because there was a huge Indian army which was about 250,000 soldiers, and then there were about 20 lakh members of Mukti Bahini, and this was against all odds. The army fought bravely according to him and gave exemplary sacrifices which he says are still not acknowledged by Pakistan themselves. In fact, he went ahead to say that it is even acknowledged by Indian Army, as he said that the Chief Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw, he had in fact spoken about it, and he used that quote to say that Pakistani army was the one which fought bravely, but it was the politicians who failed the country. Now, this is something he said during this speech of his, but there was another thing that he went on and basically pointed towards, and that was the anti-army rhetoric that he says is spreading in the country. He said that political parties and individuals are using impolite language towards the army. He said that it's true that the political parties and the people of Pakistan have a right over the army, but they should not use bad language for the army. In fact, he went on to say that words should be chosen extremely carefully, and he warned all that army has shown patience, but it has its limits. So it's clear that he was hinting towards Imran Khan, and it's also clear that he is warning that though army has chosen to stay out of politics, it is clear that you cannot criticize army randomly. You still have to bow down to the fact that army does play a strong role in Pakistan and is a stakeholder in the so-called democracy of Pakistan. But despite all that, one thing to note is that it is a clear admission by the outgoing army chief of Pakistan that the army for the last 70 years has been meddling in the political affairs of the country. Do tell us what you think about this video in the comment section, and for more news updates, subscribe to India Today.